Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday. Thanks for being with us again. We've got a couple of things to talk about today, and then, of course, we're going to take your questions. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. Beautiful day out there. Nice start to, not quite fall, but getting close there. So first of all, let me talk about COVID. No real change, honestly, in the COVID numbers. On Saturday and Sunday, we had 41 and 40 cases, respectively, so about 40 cases a day. That's up a little bit from where we were for the last 10 days, where we had as low as 19 and 13, so creeping back up there a little bit over the weekend. In the region, there are 271 people in the hospital COVID positive, 76 in ICU, 44 on ventilators, 35 patients admitted to the hospital 2 days ago, so, and 37 discharged. So really these numbers are pretty much plateaued from when you look back over the last couple of weeks. Down a tad, but not significantly. The sort of continuing good news is that the test results are coming back. Now, on average, last week it was about 4 days, so that's good. We'll take your COVID questions here in a second. Okay. Second item on my list to talk about is a very concerning item, is that we had another police officer shot last night, about 9:15, 9:30. On the good news, he's out of the hospital, was shot in the shoulder. It was a 2-officer car. They tried to make a stop of a vehicle that had blacked out windows and no license plate. The car stopped and then didn't stop, went ahead and began firing on the 2 officers. So very difficult situation. We've had 9 police officers shot in the last, excuse me, we've had 9 police officers shot in the last 3.5 months. And one, of course, retired police captain killed. Officer Bohannon also killed 2 weeks ago. And so it's really just a very dangerous situation out there for our officers, who are doing their best at responding to calls and enforcing. And just never can remember a time we would have had 9 police officers plus a retired officer, 10 in total, shot, and 2 died over just the last 3+ months. So we're happy the situation wasn't worse yesterday. You'll see on our Facebook page and on the police department's Facebook page the vehicle. I did see the vehicle last night, had several gunshot wounds, gunshot holes in it, and so it is fortunate that it wasn't worse, I guess is the way of saying that. Our police officers are facing danger every single day. Every single stop, every car stop can turn into a tragic situation for them. And so thankfully there are individuals who want to be guardians of our public safety, who are willing to do that job, a job that most of us could not and would not do. So thankfully they do that job. Third item before we go to your questions. you may have seen on social media this past weekend, very successful clean sweep program along Grand and right off of Grand from the Rock Church north to the Grand Water Tower. Grand Water Tower is the white, and it's whiter today because it was painted over the weekend, white water tower right at the north end of Grand there. And thanks to Fred Weber, who brought in 4 big cranes and 450 gallons of paint, and was able to prime the top. The top is out of cast iron. The rest of the column is out of brick. It is the largest freestanding Corinthian column in the world. So it's been there since 1871. Hasn't been painted since the 40s is the information we think is correct. So 70 to 80 years ago. And so it looks much better. So in addition to painting the Grand Water Tower, which of course was the highlight, there were several derelict buildings that were taken down by Hillsdale, demo by Keeley Construction. There was we had goats there that munched off the weeds and overgrowth on several lots. We had hundreds of volunteers there that started at the Rock Church and cleaned Grand all the way up front with bags and bags of trash and debris, and reported things that they saw that need to be fixed, which our folks are out there fixing. So it really was a multifaceted clean sweep. There was also medical screenings, blood pressure screening, mammogram screenings available for people as well. So that was Saturday morning, started about 6:30 a.m., lasted most of the day on Saturday. So it really makes a difference. We all know that, trash begets more trash. So I think appreciation to the young people from Cardinal Ritter High School and from John Burroughs High School, who there must have been 150, maybe 200 young people out there on Saturday. They started at the Rock Church, walked north. So thank you to them for their hard work and volunteering to do that. So now we just call on everybody not to throw anything out of your car windows, and to try to keep it looking nice. So that was clean sweep. There'll be another clean sweep in October, middle of October on a Saturday, where there'll be a number of buildings taken down, and this time a little bit further to the west over near Kings Highway. So we'll tell you more about that as the time gets shorter. So those are the 3 things that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned to you today. And if we have any questions, we'll take them.
A few folks asking, Mayor, are noticing that the cases in the city have been trending downward, and what you contribute that trend to leading to this success.
Well, I guess I would have to say I attribute it to the people of St. Louis who are wearing their masks, following social distancing. These numbers, and I've got them in front of me here from, the last 3 months, but they do bounce around a bit. I'm concerned a little to see Saturday 41 new cases and Sunday 40 new cases. I hope that is not as a result of Labor Day weekend, where we know these holidays are tough. People want to have fun and socialize. So I hope those 2 days are anomalies. Last Friday we had 22 cases, Thursday we had 19, Wednesday we had 34, 13, 34. So we had a stretch below 40 for a while, and now we've had 2 days back up at 41 and 40. So I hope that is not a precursor of things to come. And when I look at those days where we had 40 and 41, all of those tests, the results came back within 4 days. So, so there are not any old tests that are driving that number up, and I think that's always something worth looking at. I will also say, continue to say that when we look at the data for the last month, we still have almost 30% of the cases in the city being 20-year-olds, 20 to 30, and about 20% of the cases being 30-year-olds. So we're still looking at the majority of the cases coming back in those 20s and 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. We still see that the last 14 days, the highest number of cases was in the 63116 zip code, 63109, 63139, 63118 zip codes. And so that hasn't changed over the last month or so that we've been talking about this. So, you know, we've got to continue to wear our masks and social distance. We're concerned because we're coming into the fall and the winter season where respiratory illnesses are more common and where people also begin to get the flu, which looks, you know, has some similar symptoms to COVID. We are really encouraging everyone to get their flu shots. We encourage everyone every year to get their flu shots, but even more so this year to get your flu shots. So it's time. I know there are several places right now where you can get a flu shot for free, and some people get them through employers, through drugstores, through various locations where you can get your flu shots now. It's just the beginning of the flu season. Don't wait too long to get your flu shot. Go ahead and get it now if you can.
Question from Andrew Mayer. What metrics are the city using to consider when we lift the remaining restrictions on COVID-19?
Well, we are looking, as we've been looking all along, we're looking at new cases and we're looking at hospitalizations. And we really haven't seen a significant movement over the last month or so. The new cases in the city are down a bit, but the hospitalizations are not down a lot. And what we have here now is a situation where the city and the county and Illinois have very similar restrictions. And that's good because we know there's a lot of travel back and forth in those. So, you know, if our number of cases went down and stayed down for a significant time period, or in the number of hospitalizations went down and stayed down, then we might consider doing something different. But right now, I honestly do not see, I mean, I anticipate that we're going to be wearing masks for a good long while.
So this maybe answers Bruce's question. When will bars in the city allowed to be open past 11 p.m.?
There's not a set time for that, Bruce. St. Louis County bars close at 10. Illinois closes at 11. I believe Columbia, Missouri is at 9. Last call at 9. So I don't think that is going to change in the near future unless there's some really big turnaround here.
Last COVID question is from Lisa Mayer. Wants to know how the city is using CARES Act dollars to help childcare providers, early childcare education, especially with kids not being able to go to school.
Right.
And some parents have to go to work.
That's a really good question, Lisa. So there's been $1.5 million allocated to childcare centers. We are working through the Missouri Foundation for Health. Yes, the Missouri Foundation for Health. And they have already begun to distribute some of the funds. I saw a list the other day. They had a very rigorous process where child care centers applied for funds. It's very important that these child care centers be able to stay open. We know folks have to have child care. So $1.5 million has been allocated to child care centers in the city of St. Louis.
On the officer who was injured, Mayor, Andy's question is, what are your thoughts on why you are seeing what you call unprecedented violence toward officers in the last 3 months?
Well, I think, it's hard for anybody to know the exact answer to that question, Andy, but, there's a lot of pain and a lot of suffering in our communities as a result of COVID, as a result of people being out of jobs. So we see that aspect of it. We also see a lot of criticism and disrespect of law enforcement. And, consequences have not been, there haven't been as many consequences for some of this behavior. So I think it's really a whole combination of things. But one of the things that I do know is that we need our police officers. We need our good police officers because, of course, we want them to be available when we need them to call. And so they are guardians of public safety.
Question about the residency, Mayor, from Lindy, wanting to know, does it affect all police officers in the city, or is this just applied to new recruits?
It affects all police officers who currently work for the city or who are hired for the next 3 years till September 1, 2023. Let's call it 3 years. So any of those individuals, people who work here now or people who come to work here in the next 3 years, will not have a residency requirement for the duration of their employment. Now, that bill still has to be signed by the governor. We're expecting that that'll be done next week. Has to be signed by the Speaker of the House, hopefully this week, and then go to the governor to be signed next week, we hope. So it is, we think will give us, remove one of the impediments to hiring police officers. We know there are people who live in St. Louis County who may want to work for the City of St. Louis Police Department. This will give us the ability to hire those folks.
Last police question, Mayor, from Huey, wants to know if you have a status update on the implementation of body cameras for the police department.
Mm-hmm. So body cameras, I just asked about this last week, I think it was. I think some of the equipment is in, and now they're beginning to program some of that equipment. There's some, there's an interface with our CAD system that's being worked on, so it's in process.
We have a question from Carlos about the street cruising and racing downtown and wants to know, past some of the restrictions we put in place this summer, are there permanent measures that they can expect downtown to help mitigate some of this activity?
Permanent measures in terms of law enforcement, yes. We're not sure how long these partial street closures will stay in place. We're trying to balance the interest of curbing the, no pun intended there, curbing the cruising and the fast driving and the reckless driving and the illegal driving with an ability for people to get around and visit restaurants and retail and that sort of thing, particularly on Washington Avenue. The measures we put in place a few weeks ago are temporary, but some of them may turn into being more permanent or semi-permanent.
That is it for new questions today, Mayor.
That's it. You guys let me off easy today. Thank you all for being with us this afternoon. We'll be back with you on Wednesday and on Friday. That's the plan this week. Wednesday we're going to be late coming on because there's a Board of Estimate and Apportionment meeting Wednesday at 2 o'clock as well. So won't be on at 2 o'clock, but when that's over, we'll be on. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.